Alright, so now we're ready to start putting everything together. As you can see, I've got marks to the center and then where the fuselage. So if we turn this upside down, and on the bottom we'd be able to see where the center line is and the fuselage. I got my marks so I can kind of see, and then you're going to want to make sure that it's center and straight, and if you got a nice square, you want to make sure that it's going to be square. So, and then when that is in, first thing you want to check is to make sure we got clearance. Let's make sure we don't have to cut some more of this out. So when the rudder goes on, that we got clearance in here. Right now I'm just I'm a little close. So I think I want to take just a little bit more out in here. So let me get my knife. I think when I glue this together, I've got some glue in here. So let me take and clean this. And if you don't get this perfect, you can always take a little bit more out of your horizontal stabilizer or your vertical stabilizer. But you don't want to get your hinge lines in there too far. So that's looking pretty good now, nice and snug. So now we want to glue this in. So let me get my hot glue. And I'm going to run some glue inside here on the bottom and inside on the top. Get that off. Put some right in here in the center. I've got her hot. And we start putting this in. Make sure my center lines holding flat. You need to hold that down there. I've got everything here all lined up, center and square. Okay, now just to be on the safe side, I'm going to pull from the front to the tip 23 1/4. From the front to the tip 23 1/4. I lucked out, I didn't have to shim that. Then when you look at this, you want to just make sure everything is square, nice and square. Nice and square. Okay. Now we can run just a little bit more hot glue on the outside of here a little bit. Now we know everything is good. Put a little more there. Put a little bit more here. And here. Plenty of hot glue when you put these things together. You don't want them coming apart on you. Okay, it's set up a little bit. The horizontal stabilizer is on. It's nice and firm. Now's the time where you want to double check everything just to make sure it's clearing. And I had just a little bit in there I needed trimming to get it to clear. So now we're going to put the vertical stab on and the rudder. And you remember how we notched that out? So this fits right in there and fits right in between them two. And then you want to, here's where you want to make sure you got your clearance is in here. Sometimes you get this too far in and you want this level here. And you can see it's a little smaller here just so it does, so when you land it doesn't hit. So that's looking good. So we want to get our glue And I'm going to go ahead and run some in here. And this is still going to help join these two together. I'm going to stay away from the elevator there. Then I'm going to run a bead down the center here. And then we're going to fit this back on. Make sure we got our clearance there. Now here's where we want to make sure that we're down and center. Okay, and here's where you want to make sure you're vertical, that you are vertical. And then you can take and push this glue back to it, looking nice and vertical. Center of the plane. Everything is nice and straight. And we got clearance now. And we got clearance here. Little tight. I'll probably go ahead and cut that out just a little bit more. Just a little tighter than what I want. Okay, now my vertical stab has set up some. I'm going to run a little bit of extra glue around the top on both sides, just to double check and just double make sure I got enough on it. Okay guys, here's one more thing that I do to this. I take about 6 inches of tape and bend your rudder down, and I tape it. You don't have to do this, but I just think it makes things stronger too. So this is taping the vertical stab on a little more. And make sure you bend that rudder down so you're not binding it. This is just clear packing tape, so you'll really not see it. Same thing on this side. It's just an extra precaution. Bend the rudder down. Put some packing tape. Strip of packing tape. It's just an extra precaution, and these rudders, and it just helps hold everything too. To me it was a why not. I had room here, and where the vertical stab is glued on, but it doesn't hurt anything. You don't have to, but it's just one of them things I did. Okay guys, we got our vertical and horizontal stab on, and our elevator and everything's on here now. I think the easiest thing to do now is go ahead and put the servos in while we can get to the wires. So I'm going to set up a servo here. I use the Dextrum $3 servos, 9 gram, and I don't have any problem with these on my scratch builds. And I've got a DX5 already set up here that I use for setting things. And what I like to do is go ahead and center the servo, so when you go working on it next time, it's already close. So we'll set this up, center it. This is not the ESC and battery really that I'm going to use, but okay. And I'm using the Dobro quick connector for the control rod, and I like to put it on these, right on the servo. So what I do is take this arm now, I got it centered, and we're going to run all of our arms 90 degrees. So once I find out the best 90 that I can get, sometimes you got to turn it around. That looks better. To get it to line up on the splines right on these dextrums. And they're only $3. That's close. It's about close as I'm going to get it. So now that's centered up. I can. I need to figure out what side that I'm going to use. So if I'm going to use this one on this side of the plane, and I'm going to use it for the elevator since the elevator is up. I've always been taught to put the arm towards the back, towards wherever, whatever control surface that you're using, you know, if you can, as much as possible. So on this side where everything is up, I'm going to be using this side. And these dextrums, I have to take a 1/16 drill bit and just run through here. You don't even have to have it on a drill. If you don't have a bit, you can use your hobby knife. Once I got that last hole, I want to use the last hole on the arm so I can get as much throw as possible. I clean that out a little bit. And then the quick connect goes on, and you want it to spin very easily so when it's turning. Then they give you a metal clip to put on the back, or you can even use, they got some little rubber clips that come with them that'll hold it on pretty good too. Sometimes when they're new like that, I have to, these vice grips are a good thing to have too. The little needle nose vice grips, I find that I use these a lot. Now when you snap that on, just make sure that it does turn, and it is on pretty good. This way we can just put the rod through here, and it's going to make it a lot easier adjusting everything when we go to set up everything.